Little Victory Sports Cards here, and I first off want to thank everyone for viewing and embracing my top 10 losses video. It's crazy. It got like over 25,000 views and 300 comments, which is insane to me, but it's exciting, especially since my other videos get like 200 or 300 views on average. But I get it. I see why the video resonates with people. It's just about honesty, and you know, it's kind of refreshing to hear someone actually share losses instead of just wins all the time. You know, I've worked hard in this hobby for a long time now. I went ahead, I loved it so much, sports cards so much, that I made it a career, and it's been a grind, a good grind. The only time it wasn't a grind was during the pandemic, and that was a freak event. And you know, I did well. I made a lot of money during the pandemic, but I made the mistake of reinvesting a lot of that money back into sports cards, and you know, prices dipped, and so here I am. I'm back in the grind, which I kind of like. So today should be a fun one. I'm gonna explain my top 5 weaknesses, failures, mistakes that I've been going through, characteristics that I've had throughout my career in the hobby. And this in front of me, all this big stack, it's all the same item. It will be my number 1. It was over a $60,000 failure, and I say failure instead of loss because I took a little heat in the comments of the last video. It's not a true loss because I made a great investment on these, but I did not sell at the peak. I did not sell at a good time. I should have, but I'll tell you the story about it. So sit back, and I'm gonna highlight my top 5 weaknesses and give tips and examples that I learned from the mistakes. So I hope you enjoy my pain and sit back and watch the video. Thanks for viewing. All right, number 5 is not being a forward thinker. And by that, I mean thinking about, you know, planning for and considering the future rather than just the present. You know, a perfect example of my failure is getting caught up in the Prism basketball craze during the pandemic. You know, submitting these awful cards. I mean, look at, this is a perfect example. PSA 9s. I submitted these. John Collins. Why? Why would I do this? I mean, he's actually picked it up this year, but still. Lauri Markkanen. OG. I mean, look at this. Oh, it's awful, and it hurts to see. You know, at the time, everyone was submitting these kind of cards, but that doesn't make it right. At the time, I think even 9s were probably going for $20, and 10s were probably going for 80 to 100. So, you know, at $12, it kind of made sense, but I was wrong, and I admit it now. It was awful, and really, I should have been thinking that, you know, if everyone is doing it in the moment, you really got to step back and think about how that is going to impact the future. You know, the future values, the future supply and demand. The supply was going to be astronomical, you know, and the demand was only going to go down. I should have thought about these things. And did I think about the values of those cards, what they will be like in 15 months, you know, because did I think about how PSA was so backed up and going to take 15 months to complete my order? What were the cards going to be valued at then? No, I didn't take any of those in consideration. And, you know, and I'm an OG of submitting cards. You know, I pride myself. I've been doing it a long time. So, really, I have no excuses. I should have known better. I should have submitted better cards. You know, I should have forward thought. I had all these incredible, Tom Brady and football cards ready to grade, and, I didn't grade them. Instead, I fell victim to this Prism basketball craze, and I got to share this with you. And to make matters worse, you could tell even the PSA grader was pissed off, probably having to grade these mass-produced mediocre player Prism cards. They were probably like, I can't look at these anymore. I'm just gonna throw all these I'm gonna give you all 9s, I'm tired of looking at this crap. And look, I want to show you a little screen grab kind of my submission. Look at all 9s, 8s, and these were the best of the best. Trust me, I've been submitting a long time. They were 10s. So, I remember when I got the grades back, I was so bummed. And it was like a 250 card order too. So, really, I don't blame them. They were, they should be consistent still, even if they're annoyed by all these bad cards being submitted. But still, I don't blame them. So I blame myself. And ever since then, I always break up my PSA suborders, never have one more than around 100 cards each. I don't want to be stuck with a grader having a bad day, grading a whole large order. So yeah, really, you need to implement forward thinking when it comes to population report too. You need to think about how condition sensitive a set is, and forecast whether it's going to have a high population of 9s and 10s. Are they easy to grade or not? A perfect example of where I failed to do this was investing in Zion and Jaw. I made the mistake of investing in the Zion and Jaw Prism cards, The perfect example is this Zion, just a base PSA 10. So at the peak, they were probably going for around 1,000, and now, what are they? I think they're down to $160. And you know why? You guys, it's because of the population report. You gotta check out the population report. It's insane. They were so mass-produced, and they were not condition sensitive, and fit perfectly into the pandemic grading frenzy. Everyone was submitting these cards, and all right, look at the pop report. It's crazy, and it just shows how easy that card is to grade, not condition sensitive at all. There's 17,000 9s, but get this, 22,000 10s. In pop reports, the gem mint 10s should never be higher than the mint 9s. That's not a good sign in investing in a card. So, there you go. And to make matters worse, I thought Zion was a beast, and I still think he's gonna be. I hadn't seen a physical specimen like that. It's just incredible, his build and athleticism since like the bronze. So I was high on Zion, and I went ahead and invested in a lot of his silver 9s, and I was paying like $1,000 each, kind of at the peak. Bad investment. What are they down to? I think they're down to like $360. So not good at all. It could be worse. He could have been completely injured and never came back to the league. At least he's come back and he's doing well. He's showing glimpses of just how amazing he is. So there you can see. So this is proof, and my advice is to not get complacent in the present, in the current. Don't just follow current trends, think outside the box and think to the future. All right, number 4 is limit your gambling. I consider opening lots of product wax gambling. It's not often said, but it is an addiction, and I think a lot of collectors have those similar addictive traits and habits, and that included me. still does in a way. And for me, it started after college when I got my first adult job, first adult paycheck. You know, I worked for a child research center at the time, and after I got off each day, I would head to the local card shop and waste money opening boxes. And for me, it started in 2006, 2007, when there was so much hype surrounding that year's NFL draft class. You know, the quarterbacks in that class, it's eerily similar to kind of the 2021 quarterback class, who are not playing that well at the moment. But, you know, it had Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, Vince Young, Jay Cutler. You know, all those guys were supposed to be really good. And my favorite product to open was these 2006 Contenders. You know, I loved the gamble of them. I shouldn't have. They were, you know, I liked the idea that you get 4 autographs per box. I liked the autograph design, the mirror look. You can see right here, I think there's the Reggie Bush. You know, and the short prints autographs were fun to chase. You know, and this was one of the cases I bought and opened. Actually, I found this case in my storage unit, and I pulled out, each box had one Tom Brady base, so I was happy. I pulled out each one and graded them through PSA, and they all 12 got gem intense, so not a condition sensitive set right there. But I was happy about that. Anyway, they were really expensive at the time, and you know, I would pay rent and stuff, but all the extra money went towards opening, and I lived uncomfortably for a while. You know, I should have been doing research and buying singles instead. You know, just think, it was the year was 2006, 2007. I could have been buying LeBron singles, Jordan cards, Tom Brady's, Kobe's, you know. Can you imagine how cheap they were? So really, wasting all that money gambling on wax, it kept me from getting to that next level. You know, I really couldn't succeed until I stopped. And for me, I did get a hold of it and stopped, thankfully, you know. And the thing that did it for me was starting a family. That made me want to stop and move forward, move smarter. I wanted to successfully provide for them and give them a better life. So I'm not saying go out there and start a family or anything like that. I'm saying, you know, find your greater purpose. Find your greater purpose. Something worth making you want to stop. You know, it can be a goal or a strong motivation to prove people wrong, you know. So, you know, instead of spending tons on wax, I grinded it out at the card shows, which was fun for me. It ended up being just as fun as breaking, you know. I bought singles, I scavenged through the $quarter boxes, and then I graded those cards through PSA, and I began making a decent living. And I was able to get a house and start to feel pretty comfortable, you know. I wasn't that stressed out dude each month living paycheck to paycheck, feeling guilty because I gambled away my money on opening sports cards. So really, you know, I'm not saying you have to completely stop ripping. I'm just saying put limitations on yourself, be aware of it, and get it in check. You know, and don't fall for all those videos out there showing massive pulls. You know, most of the time you're only gonna get like 30% value out of the box, which is terrible. You know, I would say 80 to 90% of the time you're only going to get that 30% value. So it's just not worth it most of the time. So, one more thing. I want to do a quick fun, tell you about one card in this set. People don't know it, but you hear the name John David Washington. It is Denzel Washington's son, and his son is an actor too, a great one. He was in HBO Ballers and the movie Tenet, but a lot of people don't know he was a football player for a while, and he had a rookie autograph in this set. Man, I had no idea who he was, and I used to sell his autos out of here for, you know, $1 each. But then I finally learned who he was, and I started picking them up, and I mean, I think it was a year or two ago, I even sold a PSA 10 copy I graded, and it sold for like $350, I think. So, little known, and it might be, if you see it at card shows in the dollar boxes, pick it up. John David Washington, right here. Yeah, it's a nice little investment. I think they're valued raw right now around $80. So, and sadly, that's probably the second most expensive card in this box, which is nuts. This is terrible rookie class. They just didn't pan out. And honestly, I think Devin Hester might be the only surefire Hall of Famer in this class. So, not good. So, to recap, this is my number 4. Stop gambling as much and find that greater purpose. All right. Number 3 is leave your personal feelings at home. You know, I fell victim to this for over half of my career in the hobby. It's, you know, don't not invest in some player because you don't like them. You know, it's a bad move. So, for example, for the longest time, I did not like Kobe Bryant. I was a huge Portland Trailblazers fan, and he would always destroy us. He just, game winners, always beat us. And so I just did not collect enough, invest in his stuff, which I regret, obviously. But at one point, I did buy a refractor, Kobe Bryant rookie, like this, in a BGS 8 form. It looks like I bought it in 2016 for around $2,500. But you know, I didn't have a strong affinity for him, so I sold it in, looks like September of 2017 for $2,900. So I didn't make much profit, so I obviously didn't see the long-term investment potential. I should have. You know, I knew he was one of the greatest to play the game, and I knew he was a Hall of Famer. I just didn't like him. So, you know, selling that for $2,900, that's a huge loss. And I looked it up at the peak. It looked like that card in a BGS 8 sold for around $45,000. So that one hurts. And, I mean, another example, also this, I opened this a long time ago, but in 2012, I bought this box, sealed hobby box, on eBay for around $500, and I was an idiot. I went ahead and opened it, and I really shouldn't have. So I opened it, and you get 2 refractors in this box, and, you know, handful of rookies. I did not get a Kobe rookie. I did not get the Kobe Youthquake. No Kobe's whatsoever. And my 2 refractors were terrible. It was like Bobby Sura and, oh man, some other terrible player at the time. So it was such a loss. But to make it even worse, I looked it up during the peak pandemic. And it looks like at the peak, these boxes were selling for $61,000. $61,000. So that was stupid of me. Really bad. Yeah, so, all right, and one more example. I'll do one more example. I did not like Tom Brady either. You know, him and Belichick seemed so arrogant and pompous, and I just didn't like him. So it looks like I didn't have a lot of his stuff in my PC or investing in him, but, you know, here and there I sold, looks like I sold his 2000 Bowman Chrome rookie PSA 9. It looks like I sold it for around $150 in 2015. That's crazy low. It looks like at its peak, its high, you know, during the pandemic, it was selling for around $9,000. But the current, man, it's dropped a lot. It's down to around $2,700, $2,800. So, you know, that's crazy. So my advice, like I said, do not collect someone because you don't like them. You know, you're
your goal is to make a good investment and think of that player's long-term potential and go off of that instead of your personal feelings towards that player. So that is my number 3. All right, my number 2 is FOMO, meaning the fear of missing out. I fall victim to this too. It's where you rush into a purchase pretty much blindly because everyone's doing it and you think you really need to do it too. You think you need to do it too before the card explodes, or, a guy has a good week and, I'll rush onto the computer, get on ComC, get on eBay and start buying up. Only to he fizzles out. In most cases, the card is not gonna explode in value. It's like I said, it's probably gonna fizzle out, and you're left with the thought of, why in the world did I do that? And so my perfect example is this guy, Jared Stidham. Okay, so some of you may not know who he is, but when Tom Brady left to go to the Tampa Bay Bucks, he left a huge hole in the New England Patriots club, the quarterback. So this guy was supposed to be the starter. He was going to replace him, and even all through the preseason, he was going to start, and he had a lot of hype going into it. They had Belichick, they had a good team, so he wasn't going to have to do too much to get him to win and everything. So I stocked up, and I knew nothing about him. I didn't do my research. I went into it blindly, and really, it was a mistake. I probably spent around $1,000 investing in him, not just this card, some of his autos, and this is the very last of him, thankfully. Last card I own of Jarrett Stidham. I just looked him up to see if he was still in the league. He actually is. He got a few snaps for the Raiders. He's kind of the backup for the Raiders, Derek Carr. So that's good. I wish him well. I'm glad he's in the league still. But he never got a chance to even start that season. After Tom Brady left, I think they went with someone else. So his hobby decline was pretty steep there. Luckily, I sold most of it and got at least half of my money back, but still, that was a pretty big loss, and I regretted that. And it's you really need to think about the risk. Do your due diligence, research the dude, watch him play if you can, and really, everyone needs to stop paying these baked-in prices. And by baked-in, meaning paying prices that already account for a player winning multiple MVPs or championships. Odds are they won't. So, that is kind of my advice with that one. The fear of missing out, just don't fall victim. Do your research, do your homework, and go from there. All right, let's move on to number 1. I'm excited about it. Thanks for viewing, and let's waste no more time. Number 1. All right, my number 1 weakness in the hobby is hoarding. I've always fought with holding on to things too long. I don't like seeing things go or leave my collection or leave, period. But I know I need to provide, so I sell, and I'm getting better fighting it. I'd say the main problem of mine is, knowing when to sell, being able to sell. I'm confident in my investment choices. I think I make good ones. But when to sell, because of my hoarding, is a real struggle, So, without further ado, a perfect example of this is one of my best investments and worst failures. It was a $60,000 mistake, and it is the 2003 Net Pro tennis sealed boxes. Oh man. All right, story time. Like I said, it's one of the best investments. So I was at the Portland Card Show, and just doing my normal buying, table to table, and I saw this one guy had about 5 of these sitting on the table, and with the price tag of $3 each on them, and I was like, oh man, that seems low. I'm not a huge tennis fan, but even I knew some of the big names, and I looked it up. I just looked up at the 2003 rookies in here on my phone right then and there, and I saw, it has some amazing rookies in it. It has Federer, 2 Federers actually, Nadal, and Serena in Venus. Look at these cards. So it has the GOATs of tennis, their rookie cards. I know it's their real basic copy, but still, I thought, wow, for $3, yeah, down the road, I think it has a lot of potential. It could maybe get to $10 or $15 a box one day. It's like, great, okay, I'll buy these 5. So I bought the 5, and the guy said, oh, I have a couple hundred of these at my storage or wherever he lived. He said he has a couple hundred. I was like, and he's like, would you be interested? And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. And he even went lower if I bought all of them. So I think I got them for around $2.50 a box. And so I bought the next show. He came, brought them, and I ended up owning over 200 of them. I think it was like almost 220 boxes. It was crazy. And I was only into it, around $500 for all of them. So what a buy. What a story. I was beyond stoked to find out. Really, I think I bought them in 2017, so pre-pandemic. So what I did, I just stuck them in the storage or a garage. I just didn't even look at them. I figured down the road they'd be valuable, but not to this extent. So then the pandemic came around and card prices were heating up like crazy. So I was like, oh man, I wonder what these are worth. And I looked it up, and they were increasing daily. It was nuts. And I looked, and at the high, these boxes were selling for $400 each. And what did I do? I didn't sell them. I think I just put 1 or 2 up for sale, and I think I only sold about 10 overall for some of them for $300, $350, and then I noticed they kept going down and down, and eventually I was selling them for $100. But I think I still have almost 190 left. So I still have 190 of these, but that's not a good thing necessarily. If I would have sold all of them at the peak, it would have been around $80,000, and now I think they're down to around $90 a piece, give or take. So what is that? That's just under $20,000. So yeah, that's a $60,000 loss. But I still have hope for these, because, well, first I should tell you, oh man, I need to tell you the price drop on this. This is gonna be fun. So the PSA 10 version of the Serena Williams, at the peak, at one point, the PSA 10 sold for $3,000. There had to have been some awful pumping and dumping going on, which I hate seeing in the hobby. There had to have been to get this card to get to $3,000. That's nuts. And you will not believe the current value is $100. That's an over 87% rate of growth, a decline. It's unbelievable. 87% decline in the rate of growth. It's nuts. Another example is the Federer. The Federer, it looks like its high was 1,200 in a PSA 10, and it's currently just under 100. So that's like a 73% decline in rate of growth. So it's pretty nuts. But I've opened some of these too, and I can notice that it is a little more condition sensitive. You can kind of see these are pretty clean copies too, but look at the edges. A lot of little edge, and these are straight out of the pack, so they don't come out very clean. So that gives me hope for the future value of these, meaning the PSA population reports. There's going to be a little less 10s. So I looked up the pop reports, and it looks like there are less than half of 10s compared to 9s. So that's a good sign. They're a little more condition sensitive, and which is maybe good down the road. So, when they go in the Tennis Hall of Fame and all that stuff, I think the prices will go up. So, but man, was that a hit for me. A punch to the gut. But man, when I saw the prices on these in the peak, I couldn't believe it. It was a great feeling knowing that my investment paid off and it worked out. So, all right, that is my number one. Just want to end with a few last words, and I just want to say, like, if you're in this hobby to make a career out of it and investing, it's what people say. Sadly, it takes money to make money, and overall, you aren't going to get to the point where you can spend enough to make enough until you stop some of these bad habits, these weaknesses, and I'm proof of that, and I hope I explained that in this video. We all know deep down what our bad habits are, and I think we just need to write them down, really address them, strategize how to defeat them, and go from there. So really, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I wish you all well and success in the hobby and fun and collecting and all that. Yeah, have a great day.